Welcome back to Global Eye. Today we're telling the story of Hollywood's most deliberately obscure star, James Spader, the man behind Raymond Reddington in the Blacklist. Built a career unlike anyone else in the entertainment industry. From working as a janitor to becoming a television icon, Spader refused to play by Hollywood's rules. No red carpets, no fame, no personal life for public consumption. Just pure, raw acting that defied every expectation the industry had for him. He didn't want to be famous. He wanted to be real. And that decision cost him. While his peers from the Brat Pack era, actors like Robert Downey Jr. and others, became A-list superstars, Spader deliberately chose a different path. He prioritized privacy over popularity, quality over quantity, and artistic integrity over commercial success. Network executives told his producer that no one would ever welcome James Spader into their living room, essentially saying he wasn't fit for television. He proved them so spectacularly wrong that he won 3 Emmy Awards for playing the exact role they said he'd never be able to pull off. At 65 years old, James Spader has done exactly 1 film in the past 9 years. He's given almost no interviews. He doesn't do social media. He lives as a recluse between projects, protecting his personal life with an intensity that's almost unheard of in modern Hollywood. And he stated clearly that after a decade playing Reddington, he has no interest in jumping into another long-running series. He's recalibrating, not retiring, choosing his moments, living life on his terms. If you're new here, subscribe and hit that notification bell because this is a masterclass in how to have a successful career without selling your soul, how to be brilliant without being famous, and why sometimes the most powerful choice an actor can make is saying no. Let's dive in. James Todd Spader was born February 7, 1960. In Boston, Massachusetts, into an intellectual family. Both his parents were teachers, instilling in him a love of learning and a slightly bookish quality that would later become part of his screen persona. But despite his privileged upbringing in terms of education and culture, Spader's path to acting was anything but easy or conventional. At 17, Spader dropped out of Phillips Academy, a prestigious prep school in Andover, Massachusetts, and moved to New York City to pursue acting. This wasn't a calculated career move or a rebellion against his parents. It was a young man following an instinct, believing he had something to offer but having no clear path forward. In New York, Spader took whatever work he could find to support himself while studying acting. He worked as a yoga instructor, teaching classes to pay rent. He loaded trucks for a moving company. And notably, he worked as a janitor, mopping floors and cleaning bathrooms while dreaming of performing on stage. These weren't glamorous Hollywood stories. This was real struggle, real poverty, real uncertainty about whether any of it would work out. Spader has said in interviews that those years taught him the value of work itself, of doing something thoroughly and with commitment, even when nobody is watching or appreciating it. The discipline required to be a good janitor, to show up every day and do a thankless job well, translated directly into his approach to acting. Do the work, commit fully, and don't worry about whether anyone is paying attention. Throughout the late 1970s and early 1980s, Spader appeared in small roles in films like Endless Love with Brooke Shields, gradually building his resume. His breakthrough came in 1986 with Pretty in Pink, where he played Steph, the wealthy, arrogant antagonist to Molly Ringwald's working-class protagonist. The role made him instantly recognizable as part of the Brat Pack, the group of young actors dominating 1980s cinema. But while his peers embraced fame, courted tabloids, and built public personas, Spader immediately began pulling back, uncomfortable with the attention and protective of his privacy. In 1990, at the height of his Brat Pack fame, James Spader gave an interview to Playboy magazine that revealed his philosophy about fame and privacy. His statement was clear and unambiguous. "I don't invite journalists to go grocery shopping with me. My personal life is not for public consumption." That wasn't just a throwaway comment. That was a line in the sand, a declaration that he would not participate in the celebrity industrial complex that turns actors private lives into entertainment. The Playboy profile highlighted how Spader was a recluse in front of the media, giving minimal information about his personal life. Refusing to engage in the promotional game that most actors accepted as part of the job. Ironically, the profile also noted that in his personal life, Spader was extremely eccentric, speaking openly, and almost excessively with friends and loved ones. The contrast was stark, publicly reserved to the point of being unknowable, privately animated and voluble. That duality revealed someone who understood the difference between intimacy with people, who knew him, and performance for strangers who felt entitled to know him. This choice had direct consequences for his career trajectory. While peers like Robert Downey Jr., who started around the same time, emerged as true Alistairs, who dominated magazine covers and commanded massive salaries. Spader's popularity remained more contained. He was respected, admired, considered brilliant by those who knew his work, but he never became a household name in the way someone with his talent arguably should have. And according to multiple sources, Spader was completely fine with that trade-off. He'd rather be unknown and private than famous and exposed. The decision to prioritize privacy over fame meant Spader had to be strategic about his career choices. He couldn't coast on celebrity or public persona. Every role had to be earned based on his talent and commitment. He couldn't rely on tabloid attention or promotional interviews to keep him relevant. His work had to speak for itself, which meant he had to be selective, had to choose roles that genuinely interested him rather than roles that would maximize his visibility. The most revealing story about James Spader's career came from David E. Kelley, the legendary television producer behind The Practice and Boston Legal. When Kelley wanted to cast Spader as Alan Shore, a morally ambiguous lawyer with wit, charm, and questionable ethics, network executives pushed back hard. According to Kelley, executives told him explicitly, no one would ever welcome James Spader into their living room, meaning they believed television audiences would reject him as a leading man on a network show. Why did they think this? Spader's film career up to that point had consisted largely of playing what the industry called S***X-crazed characters and yuppie bad guys. He'd specialized in roles that were morally complex, often unlikable, sexually charged, and psychologically complicated. He'd played villains, obsessives, and men with dark secrets. Network television, which depended on audiences inviting characters into their homes week after week, typically required likable, safe, comfortable leads. Spader was none of those things. But David E. Kelley saw something the executives missed, that Spader's ability to play complicated, morally ambiguous characters was exactly what would make Alan Shore fascinating. He insisted on Spader, despite the resistance, and the result vindicated his judgment completely. Spader joined The Practice in its final season, revitalizing a show that had been declining in ratings and losing cast members due to budget cuts. His performance as Alan Shore was so compelling that it led to a spin-off, Boston Legal, which ran for 5 successful seasons. For his portrayal of Alan Shore, Spader won 3 Primetime Emmy Awards, 1 for The Practice and 2 for Boston Legal. The character became iconic. One of television's most memorable lawyers, beloved precisely because he was morally complex, sexually charged, and psychologically complicated. Everything the network executives feared would make audiences reject him turned out to be exactly what made audiences obsessed with him. Spader had proven that being not a network face was actually his greatest strength. James Spader's approach to choosing roles explains why his filmography is relatively small. Despite his long career, he's been remarkably selective, taking long breaks between projects and turning down far more work than he accepts. In interviews, Spader has been clear about his philosophy. It's hard work. I'm not going to be cavalier about it. For Spader, acting isn't just a job or a way to stay relevant. It's an intensive creative process that requires complete commitment, and he only wants to do it when the role genuinely compels him. This selective approach has resulted in what could be called a devastatingly small yet bright career. Spader has appeared in far fewer films than most actors of his generation and caliber, but almost every role he has taken has showcased his range and added to his reputation. From his breakthrough in Pretty in Pink to his Oscar-nominated performance in the erotic drama Secretary, from voicing Ultron in Avengers: Age of Ultron to dominating television as Raymond Reddington, each role has been distinct and memorable. The contrast with other actors is striking. Many performers take any project that comes along to stay visible, to pay bills, to maintain momentum. They appear in mediocre films that hurt their reputations, take roles they're not suited for because the paycheck is good, and end up with bloated filmographies full of forgettable work. Spader has avoided that trap entirely by simply saying no more often than yes. His reputation has remained pristine because he's never done anything just for the money or the exposure. This philosophy reached its ultimate expression with The Blacklist. When Spader committed to playing Raymond Reddington, he committed completely. The show ran for 10 seasons, from 2013 to 2023, essentially taking up a full decade of his professional life. During those 10 years, Spader appeared in only one film, voicing Ultron in the Marvel blockbuster. He turned down everything else, focusing entirely on making Reddington as complex and compelling as possible. That level of commitment is rare in television, where actors often juggle multiple projects. But for Spader, it was the only way to do the work justice. The Blacklist became James Spader's defining role for a new generation of television viewers. Raymond Reddington was a former government agent turned criminal mastermind who mysteriously surrenders to the FBI and offers to help catch the world's most dangerous criminals, but only if he can work with a specific rookie profiler. The character was philosophical, menacing, funny, tragic, and endlessly fascinating. Red could deliver a monologue about obscure historical events. In the same episode where he calmly orchestrated someone's death, Spader made Reddington one of television's most iconic characters through his distinctive voice, his physicality, and his commitment to the character's contradictions. Red was violent and gentle, sentimental and ruthless, cultured and criminal. Spader played all those contradictions as truth rather than trying to smooth them into coherence. The result was a character who felt genuinely unpredictable, someone you could never quite figure out or pin down. The show ran for 218 episodes across 10 seasons, making it one of NBC's longest-running and most successful dramas. For a decade, Spader essentially lived as Raymond Reddington, giving the character everything he had. He's said in interviews that playing the same character for that long becomes all-consuming, that Red began to occupy his thoughts even when he wasn't filming, that the boundaries between actor and character became porous in ways both thrilling and exhausting. Before The Blacklist ended, Spader gave interviews about his plans for afterward. He made clear that he wouldn't immediately jump into another long-running series. He'd need time to decompress, to remember who he was outside of Reddington, to pursue other interests. True to his word, since The Blacklist ended in 2023, Spader has been largely invisible. He hasn't announced any major new television projects. He's been selective about film work. He's been living life on his terms, which apparently means being mostly out of the public eye. Rumors circulated online that James Spader might be retiring from acting entirely after The Blacklist ended. The speculation was understandable. He was 63 when the show ended. He'd spent a decade in a demanding lead role, and he'd always been private and reclusive. But in a 2024 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Spader addressed these rumors directly. "I'm not retiring, I'm recalibrating." That distinction is important. Recalibrating means reassessing what you want to do, how you want to spend your time, what kinds of projects interest you at this stage of your life. It doesn't mean walking away entirely. For Spader, recalibration has meant being even more selective than usual. In 2025, he's been involved in voice work, narrating a Netflix true crime docuseries called Echoes of Justice, and voicing a character in an animated cyberpunk series called Neon Crucible. He's lending his distinctive voice to projects that interest him without requiring the intensive time commitment of a lead television role. Spader has also been making select public appearances, but true to form, they're carefully chosen. He attended the Sundance Film Festival to promote a film called The Glass Confession, receiving a standing ovation after a Q&A session. He did a rare late-night interview on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, where he discussed his early years in New York, his love of philosophy, and revealed that he still doesn't own a smartphone. He participated in the Criterion Channel's Spotlight interview series, discussing the art of character. Building and working with auteur filmmakers, these appearances reveal an actor who remains engaged with his craft and interested in sharing insights about the work, but who still maintains strict boundaries around his personal life. He'll talk about philosophy, about craft, about his artistic choices. He won't talk about his relationships, his home life, or anything he considers private. That consistency over decades is remarkable in an era where most celebrities feel pressured to share everything on social media. Environmental causes have also occupied more of Spader's attention. specifically conservation. Along the New England coast, where he has a second home, he's made appearances at fundraising events in 2024 and 2025. For groups advocating marine wildlife preservation and anti-pollution legislation, this reveals another facet of who Spader is, someone who cares deeply about causes but who approaches advocacy quietly, through action rather than publicity. At 65 years old, James Spader has built a career that defies conventional Hollywood logic. He's not as wealthy as some of his peers who chose commercial success over artistic integrity. He's not as famous as actors with his level of talent arguably should be. He's not recognized on the street as often as television stars who've had decade-long hit shows typically are. And by all accounts, he's completely fine with all of that. Spader's legacy is proving that you can have a successful, acclaimed, financially sustainable career in Hollywood without sacrificing your privacy or your principles. You can turn down roles that don't interest you. You can refuse to participate in the celebrity publicity machine. You can maintain boundaries about what you're willing to share with the public. And you can still win Emmys, earn respect from peers, and create iconic characters that audiences remember for generations. His story is particularly valuable for young actors, trying to navigate an industry that increasingly demands constant social media presence, carefully curated personal brands, and the blurring of lines between public and private life. Spader represents an older model. Your work is public, your life is private, and never the two shall meet. That model is increasingly rare, but Spader proves it's still possible if you're talented enough and stubborn enough to insist on it. Fact that network executives once said, no one would welcome James Spader into their living room, and then he won 3 Emmys for playing a character that millions of people invited into their homes every week perfectly encapsulates his career. He succeeded precisely by being the thing Hollywood told him he couldn't be: complicated, morally ambiguous, sexually charged, psychologically complex, and completely unwilling to compromise or soften those edges for mass appeal. James Spader never wanted to be a star in the traditional sense. He wanted to be an actor, which is something different entirely. Stars are famous for being famous, recognized everywhere, constantly performing their public persona. Actors disappear into characters, do the work, and then disappear again until the next compelling role comes along. Spader chose to be an actor, and he's never wavered from that choice, even when it cost him fame and fortune. That's not tragedy. That's integrity. James Spader's career proves that success doesn't have to look like what Hollywood tells you it should look like. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to share everything. You don't have to chase fame or court publicity. You can simply do excellent work, protect your privacy fiercely, and trust that your talent will create opportunities. That's a radical approach in 2025. When most actors feel pressure to constantly maintain their visibility through social media and carefully managed public person, as Dot from Janitor to Emmy winner, from not a network face to one of television's most compelling leading men, Spader forged his own path and never apologized for the choices he made along the way. He's recalibrating now, not retiring, which means we'll likely see him again when he finds a project that genuinely compels him. And when he does return, it will be on his terms, as it always has been. What's your take on James Spader's approach to fame and privacy? Do you think more actors should follow his example? And what's your favorite Spader performance? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you found this deep dive inspiring, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more stories about actors who chose their own path. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next video. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say no.